I think that obviously coral bleaching is a result of increasing sea temperatures, which is linked to climate change. Now, I think climate change can be quite an overwhelming concept for people to understand. Well, not so much understand, but to think what can they do about it.
Thanks for tuning into Tusk Talks, a podcast exploring stories from Africa's conservation voices. I'm Bea Karanja, a conservation storyteller, philanthropist, and child of Africa. The African continent is alive with energy and innovation. By 2050, 1 in 4 of the global population will be an African. Africa is also home to 30% of the world's biodiversity and a third of the planet's freshwater. In this series, we'll bring you the incredible life stories and experiences of some of Africa's most dynamic conservation leaders. From the coastal deserts of northwestern Namibia to the undulating tablelands of northern Botswana, we meet the conservation heroes working for a brighter future for all across Africa. Welcome to Tusk Talks. In this episode, I'm joined by Camilla Floros, a coral reef specialist working with communities and critical marine habitats in Western Indian Ocean, and Hoby Fanoharantsoa, whose deep-seated passion for both youth empowerment and the preservation of marine biodiversity guides her work with communities in Madagascar. Sawubona, Camilla.
Sawubona.
Salam, Hoby.
Salam.
Excellent. Hi, Camilla. So, what do you do and what organization do you work for?
Hi, Bea. I am the principal scientist and marine program manager for a program called Oceans Without Borders, and I work for Africa Foundation. And the Oceans Without Borders is a collaboration between And Beyond and Africa Foundation. So And Beyond has lodges throughout Africa, and wherever And Beyond has a lodge on an island, we then are working in that seascape to ensure the marine conservation impact is taking place.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. Hoopy, hi,
Hi.
how are you?
Oh, fine.
Could you tell us what you do and where you work?
So I am Hubra Zafmadim Fanoharantsoa. I am the communication and marketing specialist from C3 Madagascar, and I've been working for C3 Madagascar for 4 years now. And my principal roles in C3 Madagascar is the environmental education. I work closely with children, local fishermen, and local communities. Our work is about management of small-scale fisheries in the north of Madagascar, but also restoration and protection of marine resources.
Excellent. So, Camilla, can you tell me how you developed an interest in wildlife and conservation?
As a little girl, I was fortunate enough to spend quite a lot of time at the coast. I didn't grow up at the coast, but my folks used to take us actually to Mozambique a lot. And on these wonderful holidays, we got to snorkel on coral reefs, and it was just developed into my passion. But when we were snorkeling on these coral reefs, I saw how there was quite intensive resource use, not just on the coral reefs, but also on other critical habitats like seagrass. And I just thought, there's got to be a more sustainable way, of harvesting marine resources, because I could see that going forward there was going to be a huge impact. And I thought, this is what I want to do. I want to protect these habitats. And I could see how important it was to communities, and you can't separate the two. So that's what I wanted to do.
Fantastic. Hoopy, what about you?
For me, so it started at school. We were taught that Madagascar have many very rare biodiversity, and we have many marine protected areas, many protected areas, and I have never seen this. I have never seen the ocean until I was 21. The first time that I visited a protected area when I was 18. So I was like, oh, I haven't seen all those protected areas. I want to save them. But then in the news, we see how threatened they are. There are many challenges, and I thought, oh, I'm not going to see all of this. They are like disappearing without me being able to achieve my dreams. So I decided to join the work of coast conservation.
Fantastic, fantastic. So, you're both marine specialists. So, Hoopy, what do you see as the biggest threats facing our ocean today?
What I see is that there are many unregulated and unreported fisheries activities in Madagascar, but also the climate change. We are affected by the climate change, and also, I would say, overexploitation of marine resources. We overexploit our marine resources, but we are not really able to transform it, so we are like wasting all those resources.
Yeah, yeah. And Camilla was so exposed to so much scary news about coral bleaching and rising sea temperatures, just as Rupia said, and species in decline. What can we do to make people hopeful and excited about marine conservation?
I think that obviously coral bleaching is a result of increasing sea temperatures, which is linked to climate change. Now, I think climate change can be quite an overwhelming concept for people to understand. Well, not so much understand, but to think what can they do about it, right? It's at the global level. But I think there are things that we can do at the local level and at the small scale. And Hoby's just mentioned some of the threats, facing our marine life and our marine habitats, and I think we need to address those threats at the local level. So, for example, overfishing, we need to try and make fishing more sustainable and stop the destructive fishing practices. We also need to have more regulation, more marine protected areas, and then we also need to address high intense tourist pressure on the reefs. And I think so by reducing the local threats to marine habitats, you then enable those habitats to be healthy enough to be more resilient and more resistant to the global issues such as the elevated sea temperatures.
Mm-hmm. And so, how does one go around engaging local communities in marine conservation?
So Africa Foundation is who I work for, and I run the Oceans Without Borders program. And we have a model that uses community and conservation rangers to carry out our marine work in East Africa. So we are using our community and conservation rangers. They are recruited from the communities where we are working, and they are our champions. So not only are they implementing our marine conservation on the ground, but they take that message back to the communities, which is really so important.
Fantastic. And Lupi, what about you in Madagascar?
In Madagascar, we have the approach to consultation of the community before thinking about a project. We consult the community. What do they want? What are their needs? And we try to identify it is something sustainable. So we try to help them to identify what are their needs, and then we process into researcher funds to help them. And when those funds are available, we return to community and engage them, involve them at every step of the activities, and we try really to empower them with the management of a local marine resource.
And within communities, I think, we all know that African populations are growing. And in the beginning of our podcast, we mentioned that in a couple of years, half of the world's population will be African. So, Hopi, as a young marine conservationist, how can we encourage that inquisitiveness that you had at your young age? And how can we encourage the younger generations who are also part of the community to, step up to the plate and be more involved and play a stronger role?
What I think is that we should really try to teach them to love it. And with love, they will protect it automatically. Because if we try and to always save a problem, and failures, they might lose hope without even trying. So what I think is that we should teach them to love it, and I think that it will automatically inspire them to join the cause.
Yeah, and I think with that loving comes bravery and agency to make sure your voice is heard and things like that. So inspiration is there. So, Camilla, what would having walked this journey a bit longer, do you have any advice for young conservationists or aspiring conservationists around the world?
Thanks, B. What I'd like to say is that whenever people ask me, what do I do? I say, I'm a marine biologist. And their instant response is, oh, I wanted to do that when I was leaving school, when I was young. And I want to just say to those people who might be embarking on their or making decisions about their career and they're thinking about marine biology, go for it. If that's your passion, don't let anybody dissuade you, because we need marine biologists more than ever. We need people to be marine conservationists. And what I also want to say is that without the blue, there is no green. There's a huge focus on terrestrial conservation, which is what we need as well, but we equally need a focus on marine conservation. So we need those people to come and help us save our marine resources.
Yeah, yeah. And Hoopy, I know you wanted to add into, especially tying into what Camilla has said about, we need the resources, we need the efforts and all of that. So, what do you see as your biggest threats facing marine conservation?
Apart what have been said, there is also the plastic pollution. 20 skincare step routine that is trending right now on social media. Like they are using plastic, only plastic product, single-use plastic. I am really concerned about those trending that is not really healthy, not good for the environment.
And so, we know that the I'd say maybe the biggest consumers in the world are a certain age bracket, and that age bracket are the young age bracket.
Yes.
So the consumers, but they could be the possible savers as well. So, do you have any advice for aspiring conservationists around the world?
For aspire conservationist, never give up. Start earlier and then never give up. And if you really want to do it, start now. Don't wait. There is no right time, not no right moment. When you're young, you tend to think that you're not experienced enough. Move forward and do it. You can do it. And
So, are you hopeful for the future of Africa conservation? What could we be doing better?
yes, of course, I am hopeful. There are many success stories. We should share them. We tend to only see the negative things and we are affected by those negative news. But we should share also and understand also the success stories that happens in Africa. Yes, and also sharing how beautiful the biodiversity is, how magic it is.
And Camilla, turning to you, you made a really important point just now about the green cannot exist without the blue. So, what are your hopes for the future of Africa's conservation, and what could we be doing better?
I think that we need to, again, highlighting focus on marine issues. And I think it's a really sensitive issue because we have a huge coastal population relying on marine resources. And I think we just need to ramp up our efforts to engage with those communities, help them find alternatives, but also help them find ways of being more sustainable in the way they use our marine resources. It's really critical to do awareness raising, but I think we've learned that there are many ways that you can do that awareness raising and engaging with people, understanding what their needs are, and really taking things down to grassroots. So I think we just need to ramp up what we're doing and again make sure we are highlighting our marine iconic species and not just our rhinos
Yes,
and our lions,
yes.
but also our dugongs, our seahorses, our beautiful shark.
Indeed. So, Camilla, what would you say Tusk support has made a difference to your organization, to Africa Foundation?
We have, as I explained through our community and conservation model, we've got 3 seascape sites, and at each of those sites we have our marine conservation rangers, and Tusk support has been instrumental in supporting those rangers and helping us obviously implement our marine conservation. And specifically, we have a reef restoration project at the northern part of Zanzibar on Niba Island. And Tusk support through the Catalyst Grant has helped us expand on that coral reef restoration, which is quite critical because those reefs are in need of assistance. So we're helping to restore those degraded reefs using the Catalyst money.
Oh, fantastic. I'm coming to visit you in Menemba.
Absolutely.
It's been on my bucket since I was like 12.
You're most welcome.
Hoopy, how has Tusk support made a difference to your organization?
C3 Madagascar started operating in 2009 to go on conservation, and Tusk was one of our first funders. When we started, Tusk was already there, and we evolved by the time, and Tusk was always there, available, keep funding us on those protection of those marine species. And then we enter into more outreach activities, trying to reach local communities about on environmental education. And now we have impacted, engaged more than 3,500 children, and till now, Tusk is supporting us to engage those children. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, ladies, this has been great, and we look forward to hearing you again on Tusk Talks. And I will see you in Menemba, and I'll see you when we're chasing lemurs in Madagascar. Asante sana.
Absolutely welcome. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Tusk Talks, stories from Africa's conservation voices. Please subscribe to Tusk Talks wherever you get your podcasts. If you have enjoyed listening, please share the podcast with your friends and leave a review. That's the best way to ensure the podcast reaches as many people as possible. In the meantime, you can find out more about Tusk's work and our incredible conservation at tusk.org. Thanks again for listening. Asante sana.